My name is Harry. I'm a logistics professional in major city in California. For the past 28 years, my life has been all about solving complex problems. I'm an expert at looking at intricate systems, pinpointing potential failures, and creating backup plans. I spend my days managing supply chains, optimizing transportation, and overseeing inventory. View life as a series of projects, and my wedding was the biggest project I had ever taken on. I had spreadsheets, vendor agreements, and payment schedules all meticulously organized. There were 149 confirmed guests. The location, a stunning historic ballroom, was fully paid for. All the vendors, the caterer, the DJ, the open bar had received their non-refundable deposits. We were exactly 1 week away. The project was on schedule and within budget. My fiancée Lisa wasn't into logistics. She was more about the vibe. Her focus was on the flowers, the dress, and the perfect moments. For social media, I handled the less glamorous tasks, the contracts, the payments, and the overall structure of the event. We were supposed to be a team. I was the producer, and she was the star. However, I was starting to realize she saw me less as a partner and more as a convenient event planner who didn't have to be paid. The real point of failure in our relationship wasn't something I could put on a spreadsheet. It was her character. The first sign appeared about a month before the wedding, when we were finalizing the prenuptial agreement. It was a standard and reasonable document. My family owns a small manufacturing business in Pennsylvania, and the prenup was a mandatory step to protect our assets. Lisa had agreed to it months ago, without any issues. However, her new best friend, a woman named Kelly, who had been divorced 3 times, had been filling her head with ideas. Kelly told her that prenups were unromantic and that a man who truly loved her wouldn't ask her to sign one. The text message arrived on a Saturday morning, precisely 7 days before the wedding. I was on the phone with the florist confirming the delivery time. My phone buzzed with a message from Lisa that read, "Hey, can we talk later? I've been doing a lot of thinking and I'm feeling really overwhelmed. Maybe we're rushing into this. Maybe we should just slow down for a bit." I stared at the screen. My logistics-focused brain immediately began analyzing the situation. The timing was too perfect. 1 week left, non-refundable deposits all paid, and family members were already booking their flights. This wasn't genuine doubt. This was a calculated move. This was a power play designed to create a crisis. She thought she could put me in an impossible position that I would panic at the thought of canceling everything and losing tens of thousands of dollars. She believed I would beg her to reconsider, and in my desperation, I would give in to her unspoken demand, get rid of the prenup to save the wedding. It was the most blatant, disrespectful, and manipulative action I had ever witnessed. She was holding our entire future hostage to renegotiate the terms at the very last second. A cold, quiet calm settled over me. There was no space for emotion. This was a logistical problem, and it required a logical solution. She was right about one thing, though. We did need to slow down. Permanently, I texted back to simple words, "Good call." Then I powered off my phone. I knew a storm of panicked, confused texts would follow, but I had no interest in reading them. The wedding project was terminated. It was time to launch a new project, one with a much better theme. I opened my laptop, pulled up my master wedding spreadsheet, and changed the title at the top. It no longer said Lisa and Jack's wedding. Now it said Jack's Freedom Fest. The next 24 hours were a flurry of decisive action. I wasn't just canceling a wedding. I was rebranding an entire event. I had a fully paid party for 149 people already scheduled, and I wasn't about to let that money go to waste. My first call was to the venue manager. "Hi, Sarah," I said, my voice professional and upbeat. "A quick update on the Johnson wedding for next Saturday. There's been a slight change of plans. The wedding itself is off due to a mutual agreement to part ways. However, the party is still very much on. We're just changing the theme from a wedding reception to a celebration of new beginnings. What do I need to do to make that happen?" Sarah was stunned into silence for a moment, but she was a professional. Okay, she said slowly, so same time, same number of guests, same open bar package. Exactly, I replied, just no wedding cake, no head, table, and absolutely no slow romantic songs the DJ needs to play. Exclusively upbeat party music. Think of it as a corporate event, but way more fun. I made similar calls to the caterer and the DJ, who were both surprisingly accommodating once they understood I wasn't trying to get my deposits back. Then I used my design software to create a new invitation. It was simple and elegant. It featured an image of a broken chain. The text read, "You were invited to celebrate the beginning of a marriage. Instead, you are now invited to celebrate the end of a mistake. The wedding is off, but the party is on. Please join Jack as he celebrates dodging a bullet and embracing his newfound freedom. Same time, same place, your presence and good vibes are the only gifts needed. Let's party." I exported the mailing list from my wedding spreadsheet and sent the invite to all 149 guests, including Lisa's entire family and all of her friends. The final step was to turn my phone back on the screen was immediately filled with missed calls and frantic texts from Lisa. "What do you mean, good call, Jack? Call me right now. This isn't funny." I replied with one final message. I attached the new Freedom Fest evite. My text simply said, "I agreed with you. We were rushing so I've slowed things down for good, as you can see. The party is still on your welcome to come if you'd like, but I don't think you'll enjoy the theme." I then blocked her number. The trap was set. The invitations were sent. The party was happening. All that was left was for the guest of dishonor to make her entrance. The week leading up to the party was, I imagine, a nightmare for Lisa. For me it was incredibly peaceful. By refusing to engage with her, I had taken away all of her power. She couldn't argue, she couldn't manipulate, and she couldn't negotiate. All she could do was watch as her scheme fell apart. I heard through mutual friends that her initial reaction was disbelief, followed by a fit of rage. She tried to spread a story that I had gotten cold feet and that I was the one who had called off the wedding, but the invitation I had sent to everyone, including her own family, made that story impossible. To sell the narrative was already established. I had agreed with her desire to slow down, and she was the one freaking out. Her plan, as I had suspected, was to let me stew in panic for a few days, and then she would graciously offer to fix everything on the condition that we revisit the unromantic prenup. She expected me to come crawling back, begging her to still marry me. She had dramatically underestimated my logistical expertise and my absolute intolerance for being played. The day of the party arrived. I spent the morning at the gym, then got a haircut. I felt calm, centered, and genuinely happy. I was about to host the most expensive and most meaningful party of my life. I put on a new suit, not my wedding tuxedo, but a sharp, stylish blue one, and headed to the venue. The ballroom looked fantastic. The staff, who were now all in on the story, had done an incredible job. The lighting was lively. The tables were set up for mingling instead of a formal dinner, and the bar was fully stocked. The DJ was playing upbeat funk music instead of a wedding cake. We had a massive dessert bar with a chocolate fountain at the entrance where the gift table would have been. A sign read, "No gifts. Please, your friendship is the only thing Jack needs as he starts his next chapter." Guests started arriving around 7 p.m. The initial mood was a mix of confusion, curiosity, and morbid fascination. But I greeted everyone at the door with a smile and a handshake. I wasn't a man in mourning. I was a man who had just been liberated. My energy was contagious after a few rounds from the open bar. The initial awkwardness faded, and a real party started to break out. My friends were rallying around me, slapping me on the back, and telling me I had made the right choice. Even some of my family members, after their initial shock, came up to me and said, "We never trusted her. Good for you." The moment of truth came around 8:30 p.m. Lisa made her grand entrance. She wasn't wearing her wedding gown, but she was wearing a white, lacy cocktail dress, clearly chosen to evoke a bridal feel. She must have expected to walk into a room full of somber, confused guests, with me standing alone in a corner, heartbroken and full of regret. She must have thought she could walk up to me, offer her forgiveness, and be the hero who saved the day. But that's not what she found. She walked into a loud, joyful, full-blown party. She saw me in the middle of the dance floor laughing with my friends. She saw people doing shots at the bar, and then she saw the 10-foot banner hanging over the DJ booth. It didn't say congratulations, Lisa and Jack, it said in big, bold letters. Freedom Fest 2025. Her face, which had been arranged in a look of serene, condescending pity, completely fell apart. This was not in her script. She stormed through the crowd, her face a mask of fury, and grabbed my arm. "What is this?" she hissed, her voice shaking with rage. "What have you done?" The music seemed to quiet down as people around us started to notice the confrontation. This was the moment I smiled at her, a calm, easy smile. "It's a party, Lisa," I said. My voice, clear enough for those nearby to hear you, said we should slow down. I listened. This is what slowing down looks like. It looks like a great time, don't you think? "You canceled our wedding and threw a party," she shrieked. "I didn't cancel it. I corrected her. I rebranded it. You tried to play a game with me, with my family, with our future. You thought you could hold me hostage. A week before the wedding, I don't negotiate with emotional terrorists. So I took your suggestion. We're done. And since everything was already paid for, I decided to celebrate my escape. So thank you. This party is all thanks to you." I raised my glass to Lisa. I called out to the crowd for giving me an excellent reason to throw the best party of the year to dodging bullets. A huge cheer went up from my friends. Several people raised their glasses and yelled to freedom. Lisa stood there, utterly and completely humiliated. She was surrounded by 149 people who were now fully aware of what she had done. Her face was bright red. She looked like she was about to explode. She let out a frustrated scream, turned on her heel, and stormed out of the ballroom, shoving people out of her way as she went. The DJ, a true genius, immediately put on "Hit the Road, Jack." The crowd roared with laughter, and the party kicked into an even higher gear. The project was a complete success. The week following Freedom Fest was a masterclass in damage control on her part. On my part, it was a masterclass in ignoring her completely. My friends and family rallied around me in a way I could never have imagined. The party became the stuff of local legend in Chicago. People I barely knew were texting me, calling me a legend for how I handled it. The public narrative was set in stone. Lisa had tried a manipulative power play, and it had spectacularly backfired in a very public way. Her first move was to try and claw back some of the financial losses. Her parents, who I believe were just as humiliated as she was, hired a lawyer. I received a formal letter demanding I reimburse them for the costs they had incurred for the wedding. Her dress, an extravagant 1,000 piece, the bridesmaid dresses, the invitations, and a non-refundable deposit on a block of hotel rooms. My lawyer, a brilliant woman who had handled the prenup, laughed out loud. When I forwarded her the email, her response was a work of art. Short, brutal, and legally airtight. It stated that since Lisa had unilaterally attempted to change the terms of the marriage agreement, the prenup, a week before the wedding, she was the party who had breached the contract to marry. Therefore, she and her family were not entitled to any reimbursement. The letter also kindly reminded them that I had paid for over 90% of the entire event, and that if they wished to pursue the matter, I would be happy to countersue for the emotional distress and financial losses caused by her bad faith actions. We never heard from their lawyer again. The next front in her war was social media. Lisa launched a classic smear campaign. She wrote long, rambling posts about being the victim of a cruel, narcissistic man who had publicly humiliated her for having normal pre-wedding jitters. This strategy failed for one simple reason. There were too many witnesses. Over 100 people had been at that party. They had seen her storm in, ready for a fight. They had heard my calm explanation. Dozens of people, including some of her own family members, started commenting on her posts, correcting her version of events. Her cousin wrote, "That's not exactly what happened, Jess. He said you wanted to slow down." A friend from college commented it was a really fun party, though her attempt to play The victim was being fact-checked in real time, and she was losing. She eventually deleted all the posts and went silent online. The final piece of the puzzle was the wedding gifts many had arrived in the week leading up to the wedding. I had my sister and a few friends help me with the logistics. We spent a weekend meticulously logging every gift. Every single gift was either returned to the sender with a polite, pre-printed note that said, "Thank you for your thoughtful gift. Due to the cancellation of the wedding, we are returning it to you. We appreciate your understanding," or if a return wasn't possible, the item was donated to a local charity in the gift giver's name, and they were mailed the donation receipt. I wasn't going to keep a single thing. I wanted to start my new life with a completely clean slate. It has been 7 months since the party that was supposed to be my wedding. My life has settled into a new normal that is calmer, happier, and more authentic than anything I had with Lisa. The story of her downfall is one I've pieced together from various sources after the public humiliation of the party and the failure of her legal threats and smear campaign. Her life went into a tailspin. Her relationship with her parents became incredibly strained. They were furious with her, not just for the manipulation, but for the public embarrassment she had brought upon their family. They purportedly gave her an ultimatum of their own: get a real job and start paying her own way, or find somewhere else to live. Her friend group also fractured. Kelly, the friend who had encouraged her to pull the prenup stunt, backed away immediately once the drama started. Her other friends, seeing how easily she had lied and manipulated, started keeping their distance. She was an island of her own making. I saw her once a few weeks ago in a grocery store in Houston. She looked smaller. The confident, entitled swagger was gone. She was just a regular person. Looking tired and stressed, she saw me. Her eyes widened for a second, and she immediately turned and walked down another aisle. We didn't speak. We had nothing left to say. My revenge wasn't about hate. Don't hate Lisa. I just see her as a failed project, a case study in what not to look for in a partner. My revenge was logistical. It was about taking a situation designed to make me feel powerless and using my skills to seize absolute control of the narrative and the outcome. She tried to corner me, so I rebuilt the entire room around her and then walked out the door, leaving her trapped inside. The Freedom Fest was a statement. It told her and the world that I would not be manipulated. It showed that my life was not dependent on her. The greatest satisfaction didn't come from her humiliation, but from my own liberation. I took the money that was meant to celebrate the beginning of a lie and used it to celebrate the beginning of my own truth.